The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Thank you for tuning in, and welcome back to the Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos. I'm a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are so important to me, and that's why I'm thrilled to host this show. I strongly believe that every song is a story. The Songwriter Show is broadcast live on number one ranked W4CY Radio, with listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every state in the U.S. The station is also licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and Sound Exchange, and has partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio and exposure to over 300 million listeners. Tonight's first guest is Eileen Sherman. Eileen Bluestone Sherman wears many hats as a playwright, lyricist, young adult novelist, television writer, producer, and co-founder of the Indie Collaborative. Welcome to the show, Eileen.
Well, thank you. So great to be here.
You're very welcome. So I'm very excited tonight. We have two wonderful guests. Probably the first thing I'm going to ask you is tell us a little bit about the Indie Collaborative, because it seems pretty fascinating.
Well, the Indie Collaborative is a relatively new music group. I guess this June we'll have our fourth anniversary, our fourth birthday. It was founded by myself and also a singer-songwriter, award-winner singer-songwriter, Grant Maloy Smith, who I know you'll be interviewing as well this evening. And we met through the Recording Academy and at the Grammy Awards one Grammy Awards day, and I had an idea, and before I could get two sentences out, Grant said, I'm in. And the idea is that we figure out how to connect, not just through social media, but in person, indie artists of all walks of the music industry. And really, we had no idea what we were getting into. But as I say, almost 4 years later, we are over 2,000 members worldwide, and those can be singer-songwriters in every genre, musicians, engineers, producers, music publicists, you name it. If a professional affiliated with the music world, we've got somebody represented in the Indie Collaborative.
That's wonderful. Okay. Well, let's get to you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about when did you first start playing? Well, I do play the piano, but I'm not really a musician. I am a lyricist, but I really have my roots in the theater world. And as most people in the theater world, I began as a little girl, as an actress, and being in all the school plays and the community plays, and then going off to college and becoming a theater major. But I found my way to writing when I first moved out to Kansas City, home of Hallmark Cards, and they were just creating a new musical theater company there called the Coterie for family theater. And I went to audition with something, and the director said, "Where did you get that?" And I said, "I wrote it." And that's how I became a playwright and a lyricist. And my sister, who is a composer and a very, very gifted musician, I called her and I said, "Do you want to write musicals with me?" And that's how it all began. Wow. So it's interesting. I've talked to a couple people that have done theater, and it seems like that gives you a huge advantage for a live show. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely, because that actually, I'd never really thought about becoming a producer, although I had produced without really thinking about it, things in college. But I definitely think that by doing live theater, you understand, because whether you're a musician doing a gig in a bar or you're a conductor conducting a 30-piece Philharmonic symphony, it's all the same. It really is. A live performance is a live performance, and there's just certain checkpoints that you've got to make sure are all just pristine and perfect.
Yeah, I agree with you. So let's get to your lyrics a little bit. When you start the process of writing a song, do you start with the melody? Do you start with the lyrics? Do you want to hear an instrumental, get some musical ideas first? What's your process?
Well, there's a hallmark to writing musical theater, which is different than just writing a song. Obviously, as you said, I think in your promo, every song is a story, and that is true. And a story is beginning, middle, and end. Absolutely. And we go on a journey and something happens. However, when you write a piece of musical theater, it's not just the song, it is the play. And first you have to start with the story of the play, the outline of the play, what is actually going to happen. And there is a rule in musical theater: when the drama of the story gets so intense and so heightened that you have no place where else to go, that's when you burst into song. And that's what makes a musical credible, because it's a natural progression from the actual spoken word.
Yeah. Is your family musical at all?
Excuse me?
Is your family music at all? Any background in your family of musician, lyricist, anything like that?
As I said, my dad had a wonderful voice, and at one point when he was in college, he was being encouraged to go into becoming a vocalist and a singer, but he did not take that route. My sister Gail, my older sister, who I do collaborate with, when I write a musical, she writes all the music, I write the play, I write the lyrics. She has been gifted since she was born. I mean, she's older than I, but as long as I have known her, she has a special gift for music. And so, but it was really great because we grew up in a family where we had family concerts around the piano. Again, my sister always being the musician at the piano and playing the American Songbook. And we grew up learning very early on the great composers of the Gershwins and Berlin and Jerome Kern and Cole Porter, so on and so forth. And so we sang all these songs. So when my sister and I started working together as adults, and we've never lived in the same city, I would just call her up and I'd say, okay, so, and she would know where the story was. And I said, and now we need something in like a Gershwin tune here, a sound that we need, or like a Stephen Sondheim feel. And so without us really needing to go over much more than that, we have all these references of the really, really great musical theater legends. And they've kind of have guided us. But of course, when you write something, it's always you original. And my sister definitely has her own original sound.
Sure. If you could be in a room with any musician, lyricist, theater person, actor, actress, who would it be?
Well, I have to say, when I go to heaven, I hope I'm going, when I die, the person I'd like to take a music workshop with, and it would be a lyric workshop with, would be Johnny Mercer. He is my hero as far as he writes the most. They are clever, because I'm not really into mushy. I don't like mushy. It can't be too sentimental. But Johnny Mercer in all his lyrics, he knew how to write the greatest love stories, love songs, but at the same time, they were clever, but they were poignant. So he's the one that I would really like to have a lesson with. But I also said, again, I guess because, again, beyond my this life, my greatest hero as somebody who knows everything about theater, musical theater, and you were talking about performance, just general live stage performance. If I could have a lesson with him and a workshop, I would like to be a student of Sammy Davis Jr. because I think he was the ultimate entertainer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have to agree with you there. So what's your favorite 80s song that kind of comes to mind?
My favorite, which song? 80s?
Yeah, something from the 80s.
Well, I'm going to pass on that one. I don't want to say one particular one or the other.
Okay. How about, I kind of ask every guest this, but as musicians, I think we're in a very vulnerable state, and I see a lot of us fall, there's scams rampant in the music industry. Any that you've been a part of or any that you want to warn us about that someone told you about? Because I'm trying to help every songwriter out there, and I don't want them to get scammed.
Well, I have to tell you again, I think that was one of the reasons that Grant and I put together the Indie Collaborative. We have become, and again, because we all through over 2,000 of us do stay in touch with each other on Facebook, we basically are a terrific resource for each other. And so that if something comes up or we're approached or we see an opportunity that we think might be really good, we just put it out there on our dedicated page and say, have you worked with so-and-so? Have you done this? What do you know about this publicist or this music manager? And because I agree with you, and I think that that's a hallmark of entertainment throughout the ages. I know that the music industry, just like the theater industry, it keeps changing. Every 5 years, there's a major change in what's happening. But I don't think this idea of being scammed or this idea of being conned is really anything new. So, and I think if you go back, there have been some horrific stories that you heard from legends like Doris Day. That, basically a lot of her money went out the window. So that I think that it's really something to, that's why our group is so wonderful, because you're really getting a support system, and that's what we do. And going back to the Indie Collaborative, it costs nothing to join us. We really are there to support one another. And you just go to our website, indiecollaborative.com, and join us. And you just have to be a professional musician. And we are a very, very good sounding board. And we're also great cheerleaders for each other.
Okay, that's great. What's the coolest road trip you've ever been on?
The coolest road trip? Road trip, you're saying? Okay. Yeah. Road trip. Okay. Well, I would say that you have to understand, when I have not, my shows, they have gone to, because remember, I don't perform, I'm just the writer. But my shows have performed in various cities around the country. I guess when I was invited and I was part of the television world of Chicago some years ago, that was very, very cool. It ended up, a couple of my works ended up getting the Chicago Emmy Award, so that was pretty cool. I would say that just recently, because I live in upstate New York, being in New York City and part of our Indie Collaborative event at Carnegie Hall, that was a real highlight and a very, very cool opportunity. And in that one, I actually was a presenter. So that was an awful lot of fun. And I guess one last one, when my sister and I were we were the special guests at Lincoln Center for a special series about musical theater, and we were the guests, and then our show about Norman Rockwell was performed in concert. I would say that was, so I'll pick those three. I've had a lot of very nice, cool experiences, but I'll pick those three for tonight.
Okay. And then was it a difficult transition from actress to writer?
No, as I said, I wasn't really planning that. I think that most people in the theater, that when you are an actor, you are figuring out because scripts are given to you all the time, and when you have to learn a monologue, you have to learn a script, you have to learn that character, and you always hear from the finest actors, I want to serve your writing well, I want to do justice to the character, that they're really studying. So really, you are naturally learning about dialogue and writing. That doesn't mean that every performer wants to be a writer, but what I found out, and I did not even know this until I was, asked to write, because I hadn't even thought about that when I went for that audition at Hallmark Cards, and when I went for the audition. But after I saw my first show that I wrote, I realized that what I love about the theater is the storytelling. That's what, and it's true. I just took my granddaughter to see a Broadway show this past weekend, and afterwards, it was a good musical, The Prom, and afterwards, we really, really think about the essence of the show, and that's what I always loved about it. And I realized after I wrote my first show for Hallmark Cards, I realized what I really wanted to be was the storyteller. I wanted to be the writer, and being a lyricist, I was writing poems and lyric type style writing since I was a very, very little girl. It was just a natural thing. I loved it.
Wonderful. Yeah, I agree with you. It's all about the story. So, Eileen, where can listeners find out more information about you, and where can they purchase your music?
Oh, you can please come to my website first. I would love everybody to see, because as I said, I'm not a lyricist, I am a playwright, I'm a book author, I'm a television writer, a producer. So my website is www.ebsoriginals, all one word, .com. And that would be great. If you want to go to my Facebook and follow me on Facebook, that would be great at facebook.com/Perfect Picture the Musical. Perfect Picture the Musical, by the way, is my Norman Rockwell musical that just had a wonderful event at the Southern Vermont Four Freedoms Festival up in Manchester, Vermont this past summer, directed by four-time Tony nominee Randy Skinner.
Wonderful, Eileen. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. Now we're going to close your section by listening up Stand Up Proud. Thank you for being on the show, Eileen.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Have a wonderful night. So here we go. Stand Up Proud.
Thank you.
Children watch, children hear. Grant them all freedom from fear. Bigotry won't dominate. Children must learn not to hate. The world is theirs to make. Our actions do indeed for generations plant a seed. Make no mistake. Stand up proud and speak out. Let them know what you're about. Some may try but can't repress our given right to address the things we call absurd. Democracy works best when people put it to the test. Stand up, be heard. It takes guts to be free and defend sweet liberty. Evil thrived when men were weak. They looked away, didn't speak, and then the worst occurred. The lesson's crystal clear. Our rights can disappear. Stand up, be heard. Stand up, be heard. stand as one from far and near to claim these freedoms we hold so dear. For simple truths that shine a brilliant light and guide us through the darkest night. The spark of freedom still burns bright. Freedom from want, freedom from fear, freedom of speech and prayer so dear. Simple to have, but hard to hold, means sacrifice from young and old. For freedom's cause, protect them all.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Well, that was Eileen's song, Stand Up Proud. And now I'm proud to bring onto the show Grant Maloy Smith. Grant Maloy Smith is an American roots singer-songwriter. His most recent album reached the Billboard chart, staying at the top 10 for 7 weeks. His newest single, Man of Steel, has been selected as the official theme song of the National Veterans Foundation. And he recently performed at Carnegie Hall to a standing ovation. Welcome to the show, Grant. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on here, Sarantos.
Oh, you're very welcome. Now, you got to tell me about Carnegie Hall. That sounds like a epic moment, something most people dream about. What was that like?
Yeah, it's still kind of surreal. It was only about 2 months ago, but every once in a while I just wake up and I'm just smiling like, wow, that really happened. I hope.
Wow. Yeah,
it wasn't a dream.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Is that like kind of the highlight of your last 10 years?
Yeah, I would say it's got to be in there. It's got to be in the top 2 or 3 things of the last 10 years. That's for sure. I think being on the Billboard charts for 17 weeks, that was also another big achievement. It's hard to do today. And
Absolutely.
And so they're both great. And you know, when you're a songwriter and a performer like me, you have different things you do. Like you sit in silence and solitude and you write songs. And you're a songwriter too. You know that. You sit there and you wrestle and you erase and you write it again and you backspace all over it. And, you know, you struggle with lyrics and whatever. And you do that alone. Then you but it's still fun because when you get it done, it's a great feeling. You know, when you think you've created something better than what you ever did before. And then the next level of that things you do involves more people when you go and record it. And that's a different kind of fun, you know, recording in the studio. And that's maybe involving a dozen people or so. And then with the third phase is when you go out and you play it for hundreds of people or 10 people or 1,000 people or 50,000 people. It doesn't matter. That's the third level of kind of fun that I get to have. And they're all difficult, but they're all, you know, it's not like real work. It's not like digging a hole in the ground or, you know, building a brick wall. That's real work. So I appreciate that I get to do this.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head where a lot of indie artists, they might be at that first step, but we all aspire to perform in front of 80,000 people, you know, to win a Grammy, but it doesn't mean we're going to stop doing it if we don't.
Right.
You know, well, I take that back, actually. You know, one of the things I keep telling people is not to quit because I've seen a lot of people in this industry just give up. And I think it breaks my heart when they do that because I feel like they're not doing it for the right reasons or they don't realize that, you know, it takes 10 years to become an overnight hit.
Or longer.
Yeah.
And I think you're touching on something there when you say they're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're doing music just to win a trophy, you're on the wrong path.
Yeah. Why do you think people give up? What do you think drives them to give up? Is it the wrong reason?
Well, no. Sometimes it's the right reason. Sometimes there are tragic stories. People try forever and ever, and they never achieve what they wanted to. Now, maybe but you know, it depends what you want to achieve. So for me, I try to just do better than I did before. And that doesn't mean that I have to win a Grammy or that I have to play in front of 1 million people or, you know, headline at the Grand Ole Opry. It doesn't mean those aren't, for me, the important things. They would sure be nice, but they're not what drives me. If I feel like I'm going backwards, that's different. But if I think I'm still getting better and writing better songs and performing better than I did at the same time last year or the year before, then and if I'm not going bankrupt and making my family live in a box out behind the grocery store, then and I think some people do quit because they just literally can't make a living and they don't want to go have a day job again. And when they do, it kind of takes the fight out of them. And it's hard, Sometimes people are working all day long, and then then they got to go home and take care of the kids or a sick parent or something like that, and they just literally don't have any more time. And
do you think people would not give up if they got paid?
Probably that would reduce the number of, it would reduce the amount of attrition, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Very difficult to make money anymore in this business. It's almost impossible. Everyone wants music for nothing and no one buys any records anymore. So it's really hard to make any money.
That's very true. And that's a really big dilemma. What is your favorite part? Is it lyrics? Is it music? Is it what's the thing you live for?
When the music and the lyrics come together and they form something greater than either one of them. For what I try to achieve in writing a song is that it doesn't sound like somebody wrote it. It sounds like, there's a great quote from Michelangelo where they said someone looked at, Michelangelo carved famous, brilliant statues of people, principally like, David, and then Jesus being held by his mother in the garden and all that kind of stuff. And they look like, when you see these things, like they're made out of stone, but they look real, they look like they're about to stand up, say something. Someone said, how do you do that? How do you start with this giant block of stone and then create that thing that looks like it's a living person? And he said, it's really not rocket science. He didn't say that exactly because there was no such thing yet. But he said, I just carve away anything that didn't look like what I was going for. Carve away anything that doesn't look like Jesus, and then you'll have it. Of course, he was being a little bit facetious, but what you want to try to do is make it look like, or in a case of a song, make it sound like the song already existed, it always existed, and all I did was sort of chip away and reveal it. If you create that, then that song feels like it always existed, and I just sort of brought it out of the closet or something. That's what I go for. Yeah,
that's great advice. What's your hidden superpower?
My hidden superpower.
And you can't say like shoveling snow, because I heard you're buried in snow up there.
No, there's no snow. It's where I live. It's just like really cold.
Oh, it's really cold. Okay.
I'm a third-degree black belt in karate.
Really? Wow. I took karate, I think, in college, and I think I got an orange belt or something, and promptly like stopped doing it, which is like way down there. So you'd kick my butt.
No, you can't use karate for offense, only for defense.
That's right.
I wouldn't be kicking anybody's butt unless they tried to hurt me.
I'm trying so hard not to talk about Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi right now, but that's one of my all-time favorite movies.
That's great.
What's the strangest compliment you've ever gotten about your music or your lyrics?
Oh, well, it's kind of a funny one. They didn't mean it. It was a typo. Someone wrote back to me. They ordered my CD, and then they wrote me an email. No, they posted on my Facebook artist page, and they meant to write, "Thanks for sending me your CD. I really enjoy it," but they wrote VD, like venereal disease. So thanks for giving me your venereal disease. I really enjoy it.
That's hilarious. Did you have to explain that to your wife?
Well, yeah. Well, I was just laughing so hard. She said, "What's so funny?" I said, "Well, someone just wrote, 'Thanks for sending me your CD,' but they got a little typo here."
Oh, that's hilarious. Who's your favorite person to follow on Instagram or Twitter or whatever your social media?
I don't know. I don't really have a favorite. Maybe, in all fairness, I would probably say my people in my family, my immediate family. I mean, there are a couple of other artists too. Some are friends, some are not because they're too famous to be my friend. But they're I don't know. But mostly, the big famous people, they don't do any of their own stuff. So it's a corporation doing their stuff. It's a team of nerds behind a computer writing it. So. Those aren't very interesting for me. I'd rather watch what my people I actually know put up by themselves.
Do you still respond? Do you still do all your own socials by yourself?
I do. I don't have anybody doing that for me. I do have, my PR guy does post things for me about my shows. He puts up those kind of things.
Yeah.
But he doesn't answer mail or anything. I do all that myself. And I put up other things of a more personal nature, behind the scenes pictures and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm the same way. I can't imagine, again, who knows where life's going to take you, but I can't imagine not responding to fans myself, because that's the fun part, when you're really tired or you're isolated with your song and all of a sudden, someone sends you a direct message or posts something about, that song changed your life or they can't stop listening to it. That's the cool part.
They really are, and some are very, very personal. People will tell you things that is just sometimes really heartbreaking. People that are grievously ill, and there's they're listening to your music and they like it. It helps them at what they're going through.
Yeah,
and, boy, it really touches me when they share that with me, and I wouldn't ever share it outside of just between them and me. But sure. I like that. It makes me feel good that they think enough of me to share that with me and know that I'm not going to, who would I tell anyway, but I wouldn't betray their confidence.
Yeah. Well, except when you write a song about it, right? And it goes viral.
I wouldn't do that. Nope.
I'm totally kidding.
No, I wouldn't do that.
So do you consider yourself more of a hunter or a gatherer?
Wow. I think you have to be kind of both to be realistic in the world. You have to, I think artistically is more of the gatherer, where I'm sure like you are, when you're writing songs, you're always kind of, even in the normal course of your day, whether you're at Starbucks or at work or whatever you're doing, on the bus, driving through the countryside, you see something, you go, wow, is that an interesting idea for a song? Or that could be a piece of a song, or that could be a piece of texture in a song. You're always gathering up all this stuff and filing it away and trying to remember it. And I keep little notepads, usually on the computer now. But then you also have to be a hunter, because you have to go out and try to find yourself, opportunities. I think it's almost like the yin and the yang. You have to be able and willing to do both, especially as an independent artist. Because if you're a big rock star or whatever, big famous country singer or something, you don't have to do any of the hunting yourself anymore. But you do. And maybe if you're not writing your own songs, you don't even have to do the gathering. But you just got to work at, putting on a good show, which would be a luxury. But if you're an independent artist, you really have to wear every hat. Well, I think Eileen said that too. You got to do a little bit of everything for yourself, and sometimes a lot of everything for yourself. Yeah,
and that's the difficult part. I think, if any of us ever make it, the fun part will be performing. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine not writing my own songs. Yeah. No matter how big I get, it's kind of fascinating to have these big artists approach people and wanting to buy songs or music or lyrics. But I definitely would love to give up some of the administrative stuff, the distribution channels. I mean, it'd be nice to give your song, get the artwork, and give it to somebody, and they can distribute it worldwide. But it is what it is. It's fun being indies sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a lot more control over what's going on in your career.
Yeah. What's the thing you like doing most in your free time that doesn't involve music or work?
That's a really good question. I don't have a whole lot of free time. I have to be honest. Just day and night, I got to be doing something. During the daytime, it's what I consider to be my job, part of my job, meaning that I'm doing administration, and there's all kinds of stuff to do because I'm booking my own shows and all that stuff, and that's all day long. And I also rehearse a lot every single day, usually for an hour or two, and fixing equipment or all that kind of stuff you have to do, making phone calls. And then the evening, I'll normally, whether I'm on the road or if I'm at home, I might just be watching TV with my wife. But I usually am doing something, usually it's social media, because I can do that. TV doesn't occupy my whole attention, that's for sure. Yeah, unless absolutely. It's really good. But usually it's not. It's a great movie or something, right. But normally it's not enough. So I'll be doing Twitter or Facebook or any of those things. Traveling I like to do if I get some vacation time.
Okay. How many pizza places would you say exist up in New England there?
How many pizza places?
Yeah.
I don't have any idea, but I bet it's a lot. I've never eaten a piece of pizza in my life, so I'm not the right person to ask that question.
Really? Wow. I'm from Chicago, so if I could eat pizza every other day, I would.
Y'all got the deep dish pizza out there, right?
Yeah. Not even one piece ever?
Never. Wow. I don't like pasta. And I really don't like cheese, and I really don't like tomatoes. So,
wow.
Nope.
You blew my mind right now. I didn't think anybody existed that, I could see not liking it, but to never have had one. Wow.
Never. No, can't get by it.
All right. So I'm going to ask you a really important question before we listen to your song. What's going to be the score of the Super Bowl?
Wow. I'm going to have to say 28-3 Patriots.
Okay, but I thought you hate the Patriots.
Not me. I live in New England now. I know I'm from Lower Alabama, but I've lived here for a long time, and so I know the rest of the country is not too fond of the Patriots, but I am. so I hope they win, and then this time I hope Tom Brady retires, because he just can't keep winning, and he should go out while he's way on top. And if he gets 6 Super Bowl rings, that's when I would retire. Now, I'm not him, so I can't say, but if from the outside, without any emotional involvement, I think he should retire.
Yeah, you're leading a charmed life. So Alabama and New England, you're dominating college, even though they lost, and you're dominating the NFL. Wow, I'm kind of jealous. I got to be honest. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So tell us a little bit about where fans can find information about you, buy your music.
Probably the best place to go is my website, because you can see everything from there. You can see all the records I have, and you could buy them directly from me if you want, and I'll sign them and send them out to you. Or I have links to go get them off other places, like Apple and Amazon and those kind of things. And that's the best place. And it's just my 3 names, Grant Maloy, Maloy, just one L, Smith.com. So if you go to grantmaloysmith.com, you'll see all about me, pictures, videos, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, now tell us a little bit about the song we're going to play. Tell us what the inspiration behind it was.
Well, back in March, a year ago, I met a young man in the airport in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he was a veteran who had just come back. Well, no, and maybe not just come back, but he had come back from the Middle East, and he had one of those prosthetic legs on, a very space-age looking thing. And he sat down next to me. It was pretty crowded in there, and we started talking, and I just was enthralled by his positive spirit. He was such a positive thinking young man, maybe 25 or something like that. And we talked for maybe close to an hour. And then finally I got the nerve to say, does that bother you that, that you're missing that leg? And he said, hell no. Sorry for the language, but he said, heck no. Look, I wouldn't do that here because I'll get arrested. But with this thing, I can bounce about 10 feet up in the air, by the way. It's really amazing what I can do with this leg. And look, I serve my country. I grew up in a dangerous place, southern Indiana farming community. Half my friends lost pieces of their body in farming equipment. Another friend of mine lost a whole leg. A different friend lost 2 fingers and a thumb in farming accidents. Life is dangerous. Uh-huh. And I feel good that I did this, and because I did it, now I can go to college. And I'm the first person in my family, going back as far as we know, that's ever went to college before. And I was just struck by his positive spirit. So I got home about a week later, and I was just messing around with the guitar, and I just started writing a song basically to honor him and all the other young men and women who, no matter what it's not a pro-war song. It's like, no matter what you think about any conflict like that, you got to give respect to the people that volunteer and go over and do that very dangerous work. And a lot of them come back grievously injured. And sometimes it's not even visible. It's mental. Now we call it PTSD, but it wasn't too long ago. We didn't even know what it was. We just thought they came back a little bit unbalanced. But now we know it's a real clinical thing that needs to be treated. And so I'm very proud of the song. And we hooked up with the National Veterans Foundation, which is the oldest veteran support organization. It's a nonprofit. They're out in California. They made it their official theme song not too long ago. And so it's on we made a video for it and everything, and it's on their website. And it's just meant to honor all of our veterans who come back, whether they're injured or not, doesn't matter. It's just to honor their service and their sacrifice.
That's wonderful, Grant. Tell us the title of this song, and we're going to listen to it right now. And I want to thank you for being on the show. It was a pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. The name of the song is Man of Steel, not about Superman, but I wrote it because the young man I met had it was made up of steel and pins and wires in his body, and I thought that made him, because of his attitude, rather super. He's a man.
Wonderful. All right, Grant. Have a wonderful night, and here we go.
You too, my friend. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was born right here, like everyone. Learned to read and write, learned to walk and run. And riding in my daddy's truck in summer, it felt like flying. I was a scrawny kid, not too great at school. I enlisted then, the next thing I knew, I'm saying my goodbyes and trading numbers, and mama's crying. In my soldier clothes, in the blazing sun, riding dusty roads with my soldier gun. Then the earth rose up and it spit me out. There was fire and blood, I can feel it now. I'm a man of steel, made of pins and wire, but these scars will heal, I still got my fire. I'm a man of steel, ever since that day, but my heart's still real, can't take that away. It's been 3 long months, and the nurses say they're gonna ship me home, but I sure wanna stay, 'cause every friend I have is going nowhere, and they're still trying. In my soldier clothes, in the blazing sun, riding dusty roads with my soldier gun. Then the earth rose up and it spit me out. There was fire and blood, I can feel it now. I'm a man of steel, made of pins and wire, but these scars will heal, I still got my fire. I'm a man of steel, ever since that day, but my heart's still real. I'm a man of steel, and my heart's still real, can't take that away.
What a wonderful song. I want to thank Eileen and Grant for being on the show tonight. I want to thank all of our listeners. If you want to be on the Songwriter Show, I invite you to just shoot me an email at sarantos@songwritershow.com. I hope your own unique story gets heard around the world. My name is Sarantos. Please join us next time to hear other amazing artists share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at the Songwriter Show. And in conclusion, I'm going to play you the highest rated song I've ever done, called Above the Clouds. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you next week.
A safe spot waits for you. The secret hiding place exists when you've got a touch of blue. Please remember, some days are bad, some nights are hard, sometimes you're sad, but remember that hot or cold, day or night, above the clouds, sun always shines bright. This never changes, no matter how loud the rain shouts, no matter how bad it gets. It's always sunny above the clouds. It's always sunny above the clouds. The sun's power, it never ends. It's carefree and divine. The rays always cleanse. So please remember, some days are bad, some nights are hard, sometimes you're sad, but remember that hot or cold, day or night, above the clouds, sun always shines bright. This never changes, no matter how loud the rain shouts, no matter how bad it gets. It's always sunny above the clouds. It's always sunny above the clouds. Below the clouds, there's pain, so much pain. But above the clouds, there is no rain. Hot or cold, day or night, above the clouds, sun always shines bright, so bright. This never changes, no matter how loud the rain shouts, no matter how bad it gets, no matter. It's always sunny above the clouds. It's always sunny above the clouds. This never changes, no matter how loud the rain shouts, no matter how bad it gets. It's always sunny above the clouds. It's always sunny. It always stays sunny. It's always sunny above the clouds.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.